KMSB KOLD Tucson, Arizona. Hey Mo,
How you doing, Herb?
I'm doing good. So nice to talk to you. Thanks for making time.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me.
So let me start with, I've been a fan of your character on the sort of the mothership, the Yellowstone series. How did you get involved with that show?
I did an audition and I was casted to be Rainwater's driver in the very first season.
And that has certainly evolved into much more of a complex character, right? I mean, you had to be pleased with that evolution, right?
I was very thankful, especially given the fact that I was kind of about ready to check out, walk away from this industry, and here Taylor and them breathed new life into me. So here we are. It's been a wonderful ride.
Very nice. Well, and I know with Yellowstone wrapping up, and some of the spin-off things that that were talked about with different members of the family, I would imagine that you were sort of excited to see your part of the story, you and of course Gil's part of the story into Marshals. So was that something that Taylor and the show team, David Glasser and all those folks, did they sort of say, "Hey, we want to bring you on to this and be to continue that storyline"?
I don't know the full discussion that they had, if they had any at all. I'm just thankful that Rainwater and Mo get to continue on and are still very much a part of the story. And so just a lot of gratitude in that whoever made that decision.
We'll give David Glasser credit for that
There you
one.
go. Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
He's a good man.
Yes, he is.
So and it's interesting to me. You and Luke and Gil just sort of have this natural. I don't know. It feels so authentic to me on screen, and it feels like you guys aren't even really acting. Like you are friendly and you respect each other. How is it working also with Luke?
I consider Luke a brother on and off the screen, and it's the relationship that we have off the screen that carries on into the screen. And so it's been a wonderful experience. And like I told you before, just an amazing ride and to share that, to be part of that story, Luke's such an amazing human being as well, and a wonderful and amazing actor.
Well, and it's funny because it seems like he's the calm in the storm of the Dutton family, and Beth and everybody else is sort of going off crazy, but Luke sort of seems the one to be the one that is the center. So I'm glad to see that Marshalls has sort of found a home for him. I was very sad to see Kelsey gone.
Yeah.
That one really hurt. I have to tell you, I sat at the Critics' Choice Awards one year with Gil and Kelsey, and those two are just the most wonderful human beings. And so I was just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
is she?
Yeah, it's amazing, but I'm so thankful that, they're carrying on that legacy, and Casey had to step up, and I think that kind of brought him a little closer to Broken Rock than before, where Monica was that element, and so, he's now stepping into that role as well. So
Yeah, well, and of course he had gone through all of the stuff that he went through with you guys and sort of the journey that he went through. So Taylor really seems connected to the stories that are so much a part of your world, and being able to bring those to a modern television audience in a way that feels like very respectful. And I know that that's always a challenge. But you also do a lot of consulting work on other productions, right?
yeah, and to add on to what you said before, Taylor was very involved in our culture, and he participated in ceremonies, and so he's had that experience. He's witnessed it, and that's what was an added bonus to his ability to write about it, and so on and so forth. And so yeah, to be fortunate enough to be selected to be the consultant for not just Yellowstone or Marshalls. I've done Bass Reeves 83, 20, or 18, yeah,
1923,
18,
yeah.
1923. And so just to be involved in all of that is so again man, I just can't express my gratitude enough.
So talk to me about what that process looks like. I know you do a lot of consulting on stuff and the fact that you're Lakota and everything. So I mean, tell me about how that works. So folks approach you and do they show you scripts and they say, is this right? Or are you involved in even in the writer's room?
No, in some cases, I've seen the scripts. I'll look at the scripts, and then I can share what, during the production meeting, share what would be important and what is respectful, what is not in a particular scene. Where Taylor and I would just have our conversations, and so like I said, with Taylor having past experiences and witnessed it himself, it makes it easier to just be trusting of what is going to be written. And then it's up to me to decide how much of the envelope that we can push without crossing that line to where we're exposing, not exposing, but just giving too much information or sharing too much about something that is so sacred. And so I would kind of have an idea of where that line's at. And of course, I talk to a lot of our traditional leaders, the grassroots people who maintain our language, maintain a lot of our ceremonies. Because again, our way was outlawed, was banned until 1976 when President Jimmy Carter signed an American Indian Religious Freedom Act. And so to have that element back and I want to pay respect to those individuals that saw it through, is kind of my way. It should be all of our way of showing our respect to them and paying homage to them for their trials and tribulations.
Well, and I think, some of the stuff that was set up in the Yellowstone series that I believe is going to continue through Marshals, at least from watching the first season, some of those issues they don't really go away. Some of the land issues and some of the extremism and some of the things that, they sort of get shunted to the back pages. And I feel like Taylor has done a good job of making that digestible, and for a non-native, sort of population to understand what we're really talking about. And I'd imagine that, the rest of sort of your community really appreciates that.
Absolutely, it's better. It's a lot gentler and easier to digest when someone shakes your hand versus slaps you. And so again, Taylor's a master at that, and I'm fortunate enough to have Spencer Hudna and the rest of the writing crew on Marshalls that are picking up where he said, "Okay, here you go. I'm gonna trust you with this," and they're doing a wonderful job. I mean, so amazing.
So talk to me too. I know you have lots of, pardon the pun, hats, but you're also a rancher, so you're also sort of you're working the land, and so that must bring a certain amount of that must inform sort of the writing that you're able to sort of have a say on, and you understand. It's not like you're just an actor or or whatever. So is that something that ever sort of plays into? They ask you ranching questions as well?
No, they have some good cowboys on deck, on hand, and so every single one of those guys know the business. They know that part of the world, and so they're able to answer those questions. And man, I just try to bring my everyday life into my character and who I am into my character, and so um, just man, just a great group of people. I mean,
Yeah.
you have the right team, then you're allowed to be vulnerable, and that's the space that Spencer and the rest of the crew has created for us. We're allowed to be vulnerable, so that makes it easier for us to bond as family and as friends, and as brothers and sisters, and so it just makes a great work environment.
So talk a little bit about filming. I know filming Marshals is very much a different entity than Yellowstone, just because Yellowstone was sort of so focused on the ranch, and this is focused more on, procedural, but it's still living within that universe. And obviously, you spend a lot of time in Montana. Maybe just talk about how that is to sort of, how is Mon or actually maybe I'm projecting, maybe you're filming more in Texas now, but I mean I don't know, I'm just thinking about sort of that experience of Yellowstone versus Marshall's filming.
You know, um, the element, everything, the landscape, everything's the same. I mean, it's where we filmed a lot of Yellowstone, and so to have that character back, I mean, we all say it's that is a character itself, and and to have that character back, it keeps the spirit, it keeps the atmosphere all the same, and it just makes it like we never left. Yes, it's a different show, but the spirit of it is still the same.
And I think there's a lot of crossover, right, between the
Mhm.
Yellowstone team and yeah, in terms of writers and production and showrunners and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, Spencer is an amazing showrunner, and majority of the crew is from the other show, Seals, and
Oh,
so yeah, and so they dove right into our world, and they fit right in. And what I appreciate about Marshall's is not just focused on the ranching aspect. The elements are there. Some of the elements are there, but it also focuses on the injustices that occur to a lot of people.
well, and I think that's what's sort of interesting is people maybe have a vision of what the West is, and Taylor's done a very good job of sort of shining a light on different elements of the West, including development and water rights and things like that. And is that something where you've ever gone to the team and said, you know what, us, as First People, we would like to hear, we'd like you to talk about this or that or the other thing. Do you ever propose things?
I would make suggestions on what has been proposed already,
Okay.
and so to add that extra spice to it, and that's what makes Marshall so unique and different. Is that yes, it's a different show, but it still has the same spirit, but it also carries over all the different layers. It has such a cultural diversity to it, and so people can watch an episode and watch that episode a few times and see something different in it.
And are you, not to ask you to divulge anything, but are you based out of Montana or somewhere close to where you guys film or?
No, I'm based in Kansas. Our ranch
Oh,
is in Kansas, and so I grew up on the reservation in South Dakota, though. So I grew up ranching there, being a ranch hand there. My uncle Howard Hunter he was an amazing Indian cowboy. He's the one that made me want to be an Indian cowboy, yeah, because he was so cool. He was like how John Wayne is to the rest of the world. My uncle Howard Hunter was that for me and a lot of us on the reservation, and so that's what got me involved into horses and everything else.
so talk about that real quickly. So an Indian cowboy, I don't know that I'm familiar with that. So that's sort of a group of folks who are native who then have sort of moved into that ranching lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, we've always been ranchers, but we now we have corrals and fences and stuff, and so our ranching style has kind of changed, and it went from buffalo to cattle, and so we've always had horses here long before the Spanish brought theirs, and so we've always had a horse culture, and being an Indian cowboy, I used to dream of being a world champion bull rider one day and have long braids and be in Lakota, and so, but that didn't pan out. I had the heart and mind, but didn't have the talent, and so here we are.
Good
um,
pivot.
yeah, and but I'm still fortunate enough to be involved with the Indian National Finals Rodeo Tour. I know a lot of the board members there, and be involved with them, but also with the PBR. An assistant, as part of the coaching staff with the Arizona Ridge Riders from
Okay.
Tucson,
Okay.
from Glendale. But yeah, so I'm involved with them. I mean, we have a great GM there, Casey Lane, and our head coach Kobe Yates, and we have such a diverse team. We have individuals from Canada clear down to Brazil, and of course Keyshawn Whitehorse, the legend himself. Being from the Navajo Nation, is such a great young man, a lot of talent and the hard working son of a gun. And so just to be able to have that spirit, be in that space with them and help them out where I can, it's a wonderful trip.
And let me actually just, I know we're running out of time, so let me just wrap up by asking you, I don't know if growing up, if you saw yourself on screen, if you saw characters, I mean, the only thing I can think of is, of course, Dances with Wolves and, sort of that sort of whole thing, which was a very different thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would imagine that you are very inspirational to a new generation of folks who have not seen native faces on screen, who have not seen characters like you. And I wonder if that must sort of feel very rewarding to be able to do that.
Herb, it's crazy that you brought this up because that's what got me involved. I didn't grow up with electricity or running water, but those were the best days of my life. Because we spent a lot of time on the back of horses. And so what got me involved in this was that I kept asking our young people, why aren't you proud of your cultural identity? And the number one thing that kept coming, response that kept coming back was, well, we don't see ourselves on TV. And to me, in my mind, I thought, well, why does it even matter? But I didn't say that to them. That was just within myself. And eventually, a grandmother told me, she goes, "Don't you understand what they're saying?" I said, "No, they're telling you that they don't see themselves in mainstream America. Then why would they want to be something that is not appreciated or accepted?" And so I thought to myself, how do I change that? And here we are. I'm always gonna have my braids. I'm always gonna be. I just don't play an Indian on TV. I live that every single day of my life. And I utilize a lot of our traditional understandings and teachings into our ranching style as well.
Well, and I just think, I think the whole way, and again, we seem to be praising Taylor a lot, but I mean, I think the way that he's given you guys enough room to sort of own those characters, and it's not so strictly written where you don't have any latitude, and it's not like you're stereotyped into some sort of a Hollywood,
Yeah.
thing. So that's got to be refreshing. And honestly, I really hope that, in my mind, I'm thinking. I feel like there was so many loose ends with Yellowstone, and certainly Taylor wrapped things up. But I want to know more about the world that you and Gil inhabit in your characters, and I'm hoping that Marshals gives
Yep.
us a little bit more of that going forward. Just because of what you just said, I think that the more time we see different faces and hear different stories, we become more open to understanding different lifestyles and different parts of our shared cultural history.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right there. And again, Taylor, yeah, we are giving them a lot of praise because and the fact is that it takes cultural diversity and the desire to have cultural diversity. And that's what make Taylor creates a space. He created a space for us to allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to develop and become the characters that are, just not in front of the camera, but also behind that to be he supports and admires who we are as individuals. And so we give back the same level of respect.
Well, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it. It's great to meet you, and I'm so happy to see, Mo continue on screen, and I'm looking for a lot more.
Thank you, Herb. And I'm happy that Mo's carrying on too. And I'm looking forward to a lot more.
All right, great to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a blessed day.
You too. Bye-bye.